I think everyone knows the cost of labor is way up, particularly for technology skill sets, and that's going to have an impact on managed services vendors. I'm betting there are a whole bunch of managed services partners out there right now who have deals that are underwater, where they're losing money taking care of a client every month. Now, if it's just one client, it probably impacts bonuses or incentives, and the client might see some additional turnover. But if it's every client, if a vendor is losing money across the board, well, that's an existential threat, and it'll have to be dealt with. So what kinds of changes can we anticipate the vendor will make, and how do we respond? Well, the first thing the vendor might try to do is to sell their way out of the problem. We'll find new clients, we'll charge them higher rates, and that profitability will pay for the losses we're taking on our old clients until we can get those old clients' agreements renegotiated. Well, the challenge with this, of course, is that finding new clients is usually very hard, and also finding new clients who are willing to pay above market rates is nearly impossible. So it's going to be quite difficult for vendors to do. Another flavor of this is selling additional services to a client where you might be losing money. So I'm losing money with my left hand, but I'm making money with my right hand. Now, this is actually kind of a reasonable response, and maybe that's where vendors ought to be redirected if they're trying to fix this problem. The second thing a vendor might do is cutting corners by assigning more junior resources where senior resources were taking care of the account before, or by assigning additional new accounts to the same resource so they kind of get overloaded. What you'll see out of that is less attention, you're going to see less proactive work being done, and a general degradation in the quality of service. Another version of this is nickel and diming. Profitability for a lot of vendors is honestly used as a slush fund. Anytime there's any kind of work that needs to be done for a vendor that you don't want to bother the client with a new statement of work for, or maybe it's a gray area, or maybe you just need to pull in a key resource to take care of some kind of issue, that's all taken out of profitability. Well, if there's no profitability, then none of that's going to happen, and you're going to see statements of work, or you're going to see charges on the bill every time that needs to happen, every time that needs to occur. And then the final way they may respond to it is by simply renegotiating. Listen, I don't think anybody anticipated 8% inflation year over year. So they may sit down with you and say, can we find some rates that would be fair to everybody? So there are 3 different ideas I have for how to respond to this. The first one is it would behoove you to sit down with these vendors and review the contract and look for things like quality of service terms, KPIs, SLAs, other metrics that are guaranteed in the agreement. Maybe the agreement lists out what type of resource gets assigned to the account, or maybe it talks about how it will be delivered in some kind of a specific detail. Put those things into a vendor scorecard and then measure the vendor's performance and adherence to those terms every month to make sure the vendor knows that you're watching them and that they need to be delivering good quality service. If the vendor still requires some kind of renegotiation of rates because they really are underwater, well, you might consider running a full RFP. Maybe they're doing you a favor by having you renegotiate the rates midterm, and there's some other vendor out there that has better rates or has some other kind of innovative service that you benefit from. So simply renegotiate and run a new RFP. This might also be an opportunity for partnership. If the vendor's been around for a long time or they offer some kind of critical service that's hard to replace, then maybe you need to double down on the relationship, and that's done by simply increasing the rates that you pay, or it's done by some kind of creative co-investment. Maybe there's a system that you can help them buy that allows them to lower their costs, you to get a better quality of service, and everybody to win. Those kinds of options are always ideal. In any case, I think we can anticipate vendors are going to be making some changes over the next few months to restore profitability for these managed services agreements, and planning ahead to make sure you know how you're going to respond is not a bad idea at all.